and welcome to Is This Good, the show where we boldly, conclusively, and scientifically decide what things in this big wide world are good. I'm Matt Austin, and with me, as always, is production powerhouse JD.
Hello.
And, hello JD, the co-host of Air Jordan, LA's best food podcast. He's a real estate agent to the stars. He's the chef of a private dinner club. He taught Sebastian Maniscalco everything he knows about eggs. But real heads know him from VH1's The Fabulous Life Presents Really Rich Real Estate. He's LA's most honest, and some say only food critic. It's Max Shapiro. Max, welcome to Is This Good?
Thanks so much. The real heads know from VH1's Really Rich Real Estate. Okay.
What are we talking? That's one season?
That was one season, yeah.
Not renewed.
5 or 6 episodes.
Okay. Available anywhere if people want to stream?
I'm not quite sure. This was in like 2005 or 6.
Okay, well, JD and I love restaurants. I'm going to speak for him, but we're merely enthusiasts, not experts. And we're excited to have you on to help us demystify the food world, the restaurant world a bit, because you're more than an enthusiast, you're an expert. But before we get to your credentials, a bit of housekeeping. If you have topics for a future show, email us at isthisgoodpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at isthisgoodpod. And subscribe on YouTube and review us on your favorite podcasting apps. It helps people find us. So, Max, back to you. I found a video online of you from, I believe, 2003 on a CNBC show called The Big Idea. The title of the segment is Millionaire Real Estate Whiz Kid. Are you 23 in this video?
Yeah, I'm 23 years old.
Okay, so you're on and you're giving a bit of your backstory. You talk about how you were playing basketball in college, but you got an injury. You decided to leave college. You become Tom Arnold's personal assistant.
Yeah.
You become a real estate agent because real estate's in your blood. Your dad's in the business. You sell houses to, according to this segment, Lindsay Lohan and Frankie Muniz. Were they happy with their homes?
Yeah, I mean, I was best friends with Frankie at that point, and Lindsay was a repeat client, and yeah, they were all happy with the choices they made.
Okay, very good. But one thing you don't talk about in that segment is food. So how do you go from there, 23, real estate agent to the stars, to food expert, to chef of your own private dining club, to taking it upon yourself to review the restaurants of Los Angeles and around the world? So take us through that journey.
That's a pretty long journey that I'll try to truncate. But when I was 10 years old, I started to get very interested in the inner workings of food because my family knew really nothing about food. So I was super into learning. And from the age of 10, I started to experiment with things. And my father called me the saucier. And it's just making a lot of sauces, really. And then when I became old enough to take myself out to dinner, I would do that. I would ask chefs questions. And from there, it just grew. And I wanted to learn every aspect of food and beverage. And for years, I would cook for people at home and do, 10 plus course tasting menus. And someone just said, you should do this for the general public, because you're so anti all the fine dining kind of pretense, where when I was younger, I would go to fine dining restaurants and they would kind of not think that I was serious or knew what I was talking about, or maybe I couldn't pay. So I wanted to put something together where you could get that level of food, but also have fun and be yourself. And then the criticism part of it all is I've basically dedicated 28 years to knowing about food, service, beverage, et cetera. And when I see people not doing it correctly, I have things to say. And we live in a world where there are no more critics because everything's so sensitive. And we don't have people criticizing. And I'm not saying be nasty, but have some constructive criticism to help people get better. People won't get better unless you tell them they did something wrong.
My kids know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah?
Constantly criticizing them.
It's important.
Exactly.
So, yeah, one thing I've definitely noticed in LA is you see a lot of people on Instagram, some of them, amateurs, but also people that work for professional publications like the LA Times. And what I find they're really good at is telling you what's available out there. They're posting pictures of like this, this place is popping up here, or this restaurant's menu is changing this week for this reason, or this place is, has a new chef. But they're never telling you if it's worth your time, if it's worth your money. Do you think it's merely a factor of people being, thinking it's mean to criticize? I mean, because restaurant criticism was certainly a staple of dining from, I'm born in 81. So from the time that I could read a newspaper on, there were certainly restaurant critics, but it seems to have fallen out of favor.
Yeah, you can't really give much of an opinion anymore because you're going to hurt someone's feelings and then you're going to get canceled. But I think those people that are always suggesting things, they either have expense accounts or their meal is comped and they feel like they have to say something nice. So they're doing their job and they're doing what they need to do to make themselves look good. But that hurts the customer that is then spending their own money on an experience that you're saying is good because you were either paid or comped or told to do this.
Right. Well, what would you say to people that say restaurant criticism isn't important because taste is subjective? So if you tell me what you thought of a restaurant, then that only tells me about you, not about the restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, I guess taste is subjective, but when you eat everything, do everything, study everything, you have more of an understanding of what goes into the food and what things should taste like. So you can say this is done properly. If someone likes it or dislikes it, that's on them. What I do is I kind of go in and say, like, this was not done properly for what it is.
And talking about people being upset when you criticize a restaurant, have you gotten more pushback during the pandemic when there certainly seems to be an idea that, hey, restaurants are going through a tough time, let's support them rather than criticize?
Yeah, I've absolutely gotten pushback, and during the eye of the storm of the pandemic, I wasn't doing any of this. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a tough time, but it's not like I'm not paying for this, and it's not like you're not getting paid for this. So if you're getting money, do a good job. If I'm selling a house and I'm like, oh, it's the pandemic, that's why I'm not doing such a good job. It doesn't matter. It's still a huge purchase in someone's life, and it's still a major transaction. Obviously, dinner is not like buying a house, but there's still a transaction there.
Well, with that out of the way, let's start criticizing then.
Yeah, sure, great, yeah.
Now that the credentials and the table stakes are out of the way, the premise of the show, Max, is very simple. I'm going to give you a topic, and you tell me if it's good. We'll see where we agree, where we disagree. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay, first topic, not seating your party until everyone is present. Is this good? So as an example, you've reserved a table for 6 at 7 p.m. It's 6:55. 5 people are there. One person's running 10 minutes late because they're trying to find VH1's Fabulous Life Presents Really Rich Real Estate on their favorite streaming service. And the host says, I'm sorry, you have to wait till the full party is present. I know 5 of you are here. You're looking, you see the table. It's right there. It's open. No one's sitting at it. But either you're waiting in some sort of antechamber or they tell you to go to the bar. So not seating your party until everyone is present. Is this good?
Yeah, and if someone's searching for VH1's Really Rich Real Estate, they might be quite late. But it's not good. It is not good. 5 of the 6 people there, seat them. They'll order drinks waiting for the other person. You'll probably get an extra sale in drinks-wise out of the group because you sat them. It's not good. No, the reservation's there. The table's still theirs. Just seat them. Let them get started.
So what would be the reason why the restaurant does not want you to sit?
Maybe it's like just in case people don't show up and you need to go to a different table, like maybe it was 6 and you became 4, you go to a smaller table. And it could help with, I don't know, the timing of people at tables. They time how long you're at a table. When they seat your whole party, they kind of start a timer in the reservation app. So that could be it. But honestly, it's not good.
Okay, so has this happened to you?
all the time.
Okay, and is there any kind? I mean, I guess there's no pushback. They just say this.
There's no pushback. No,
right.
You just deal with it.
You just deal with it. So, do you think that there should be some kind of baseline, like if it's 5 of 6, or 6 of 8, or 7 of 8?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're 4 people and 2 of the 4 are there, I guess maybe we wait till the other 2 arrive or a third arrives. But if 5 of the 6 are there, just give them the table.
Right, because what I don't understand is I take your point about if you're 2 out of 6 and then only 4 show up, maybe they're going to want to move you to a 4 top. But if you're 5 already there and one person calls and says, my kid's puking, I can't come.
Yeah.
They're going to sit you at the same table anyways.
Exactly. If it's a 4 top and only 2 are there, but the 2 don't show up, you go to a 2 top. But if the third shows up, you're still sitting at a 4 top, seat them. Same with the 5 out of 6.
Right. And they sort of act like, oh, well, you can hang out at the bar, as if that's like, a good thing, when like you might be going to a bar where there's people already sitting at the bar, where they're being served at the bar. So now you're doing that awkward thing where you're trying to order over them, take your drinks in between them. Then finally the other person comes. Now you got to settle your bill. If the bartender's busy, now you're waiting longer. So from a hospitality perspective, I just find it to be a real bummer of a way to start a meal when you're just either milling around the entrance or milling around a bar where you're not seated and the bar is busy.
I agree. I don't want to hover over people.
Okay, so we figured it out. Do you think that it has something to do with a trend I've noticed more and more is when you sit down, the server will say, you sort of be like, oh, we just sat down, but you want this dish to start. You'll throw it in. They'll say, actually, chef prefers we take the whole order at once. Do you think that could have something to do with it? Like they don't want you to start ordering?
No, because if someone shows up, the food's still going to be on the table and they have to deal with it. I don't think it's that. I just weird restaurant rules that don't really have a reason.
Okay. So I think
let me push back a little bit here.
Yeah.
Let me push back slightly. How about be on time for your reservation, entire party? Like, get
with
here.
That.
I mean, you're going out for dinner. It's a nice restaurant. It's nice enough to make a reservation. Show up on time. And yes, of course, there's sometimes people are late, but, you can show up. I mean, I'm falling on, this is bad. It is bad. It's not good holding a table, but come on. People got to get there on time. Have some respect for the establishment.
I agree.
Yeah, but JD, this is LA. No one's ever been on time for anything here. It's like
no, I'm 10 minutes early everywhere.
10 minutes early everywhere. Well,
that's right, Max. Thank you.
So am I, Max. But if there's 2 other people, we ain't sitting down.
No.
So before the show, I poll people on Twitter to take the pulse of the people, see where they're at on these topics. So what would you guess here? 83% of people say not seating your party till everyone is present is.
Good.
I didn't catch that. Did you say good?
Not good.
Oh, not good. You're right. 83% of people hate this. So
yeah,
it's just interesting when, for a hospitality business, when people dislike something so much, and it's the start of your meal, which is, how you start things is incredibly important. It's interesting that this has become such a hard and fast rule. And I find it to be becoming more and more militant as the years go on. Like I never saw this before. What's really awkward, Max? Maybe you've had this experience. When you're going on a date, especially if it's an early date, early in the relationship, and you're 2 people, you get there. All I want to do is sit down and order a drink, start getting relaxed, be comfortable with my surroundings. And instead, I'm just pacing back and forth awkwardly.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Do you think it's aesthetics sometimes? Like they don't like to see one seat empty from a table, and that's why they wait?
Because like if you're basing that on, let's say you're 3 people only and you're at a 4 top, right? There's still going to be an empty seat because you're only 3 people. So I don't think it's necessarily that.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
I've requested like a 4-top. It's just me and my wife, like at a window, and they say no, you can't sit there. And I always suspect it's because I'm too ugly. Like they don't want me sitting in the window. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Oh God.
That's definitely, well, Max, you don't have to make a judgment on his appearance, but he is too ugly. But
Yeah, that's true.
But you know what? So am I. And that is absolutely a thing, by the way, in restaurants. Seating parties based on where, how they want the aesthetics of the restaurant to look. I mean, is that true, Max?
I am unaware of this, but
okay, you don't say think
I'll
they
trust
sit
you
like
They sit Max anywhere, man.
Okay,
Look at the guy. He's a handsome devil.
wow.
All right, so that one is not good. Next question. This was emailed in by Jake R. and Suzanne S. So 2 people wanted to know this. Asking a server what they recommend. Is this good, Max?
For me, oftentimes, no, because I mean, I've been with people where they ask a server, well, what do you like? And then they rifle off, a few dishes, and then you go, well, what about this? Oh, well, I don't like bitterness. And you're like, well, what about this? Well, I don't eat meat, so
yeah,
you don't know what this other person's dietary restrictions and preferences are. So now you're trusting in them to guide your meal.
Well, what about just the idea that they've been working there for a period of time? They've seen what people order, they've seen what people finish, maybe what people send back, what people are excited about. So they can at least give you an idea of, if it's your first time there, what are the sort of bangers on the menu?
I don't know. For me, I guess they'll be like, oh, well, this and this these are the most ordered dishes. But then people are sheep, and you want to trust sheep?
yeah.
Wow. I don't know. Like, for example, I went to the Dunsmore not long ago, and I asked what they recommend because it's my first time there, and they recommended this cornbread that I guess is a specialty of theirs, which I would have never ordered because cornbread's not my favorite thing, and it's almost sweet in the middle of a savory dinner. But I ordered it because they told me to, and it was great, and I would never have.
Okay, well, that's a scenario where it works, just because. I mean, Brian is famous for his cornbread from everywhere he's been, and so that is a must order.
Some people in the comments seem to be concerned that they don't ask the waiter what they recommend because they think the waiter's worried about the bill total, and they're going to steer them
to
something more expensive. The upsell. Do you think this actually happens, or is this
that happens? Yeah, it depends on what restaurant you're at, but that definitely happens.
And what about just generally saying, I don't know, what are the best sellers? How do you, like, you read something on a menu, you might think it sounds good, but that's no indication of how good it's going to be. Like, you could read the log line of a movie. That doesn't tell you anything about how good the movie is going to be. So how do you get suss out what to order if you're not getting any feedback?
Knowledge of menus and the way things are described. That's kind of how I operate.
So talking about servers, how do you then feel, setting aside the recommendations question, when you get the have you dined with us before, and then you're going to get hit with the we do things a little differently around here?
Yeah, you do things a little different here. Like every other restaurant in this entire city, I am an adult. I've eaten before. I know how to order food. Thank you so. My problem is when you say, yes, you've been to the restaurant, they still go, well, to refresh your memory. Or if 4 people at a table and 3 say you've been here, and then the one person's like, this is my first time. Here we go. It's on. It's on. Let's rehearse our lines.
They're going to tell you that the small plates start at the top. Right. Then they go those are shareable. Then they go down. They get more larger style entrees as the menu goes towards the bottom. And chef's going to recommend, what would you say, 2 to 3 dishes per person?
Right. So I think we can end that immediately. It takes up, like, in my mind, it's like 48 minutes long in the beginning of a meal. We can stop that.
What about the description of specials, things that aren't on the menu?
I love the description of specials. My problem is 90% of places don't end that with how much it costs.
the dreaded MP.
Not even the MP. They tell you, and then they don't finish it with how much it is. Everything else on the menu has a price. Tell me how much it is.
And do you think that's on purpose?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I have a question about specials. First of all, just what's going on with them? Does it start because the chef has a true inspiration for something that's not on his menu? Or does it start with, oh, we got a lot of this in this week, we better figure out how to get rid of it?
Yeah, it could. They might have a produce purveyor or something like that gives them something new, and they're like, all right, well, we got to put something on the menu. And it also adds like a little something extra. You're like, oh, well, off menu tonight we have this. Horses in LA has a pasta off menu that's permanently off menu called the Herman, and it's kind of like a in the know thing. But yeah, usually it's they get a product in that they need to utilize.
But so that pasta that you're talking about at Horses, though, is off menu versus a special, right? Because they don't tell you about the Herman at the start when they are talking about the menu.
No, they don't. No. Right. Yeah.
And it is an excellent dish. So talking about waiters, what should you say to a waiter if they come over and say, I trust everything is amazing and something is not amazing? Do you tell them? Depends.
I usually say nothing because I don't want to cause a scene, or it's not even really a scene. I don't really want to cause a problem. But if the coursing or something's just like abhorrent, I have to speak up. Like I was at Mother Wolf, a restaurant that I don't enjoy for a multitude of reasons, and I had them course things out, and they brought the mains, and we're halfway through the mains, then a pasta drops. And I go, yeah, I don't know why this is coming now. And the guy goes, you didn't want it like that? And I go, no. Primi, which is the pasta, then secondi, which are the mains. And so I looked at the pasta and I was like, do you guys have a plate wipe at the pass? Because there's sauce all over the rim. And then I took a bite and I was like, it's overcooked and undersauced. You send it back. So they pissed me off, and then the pasta was done poorly. And so that's when I had to speak up.
Yeah, so, I mean, I admire confidence, which comes from actually knowing about these things. I sometimes don't have maybe necessarily the language to explain why I don't like something, but you go to Mother Wolf where, it's this chef Evan Funky who's, claims to cook the only good pasta in America. And so you're going with this person that's dedicated their whole life, traveled to Italy to making this food. So to then walk in as sort of just a mere enthusiast and say like, I don't know, I don't like this, or this doesn't seem good. I certainly don't have the confidence to do that. And I would say most people don't. So you just end up on this sort of feedback loop at a restaurant where they're like, how was everything? I was like, oh yeah, it was great. And then they go back like, hey, we killed it again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also, I add to that problem as well. I mean, most of the time I do say, everything's great, thanks so much, even when something's not great. But the reason the pasta's off, or the reason something, yeah, sure, if Evan's making you a pasta one-on-one, it's going to be great. But when he's serving 400 people at once pasta, there's a lack of control and consistency, and that's why maybe your pasta isn't so good.
Right, and something you mentioned about the dishes dropping at the wrong time. When I was mentioning before how it seems like they're very into taking your whole order at the same time, they will also tell you food comes out as chef recommends, or you know what I mean? Like the chef will course this out. And then if you sort of say, oh, well, could we get this first? They're like, no, the chef will decide when these come out, which I understand for them is way easier because really what I assume is happening is, well, when it's ready, it'll come out, not in some high-minded coursing. For instance, I've had a salad come out after like a hot appetizer, which seems odd to me, right?
Yeah. I struggle with that too, because if I'm having a wine dinner and we're pairing certain wines to certain dishes and something comes out that we're not ready for and we don't have the wine poured, I like to tell people this, I want this and this, then you clear it, then I want this and this, then it's cleared, then I want this. And that's, I mean, just That's an expediter thing. The server tells the expediter, all right, fire these two, and then they fire it. And then you don't have to worry about things being ready when they're ready. The server tells the expo when they should fire a dish.
So is that something that you can push back on when they say, we'll bring it out? Okay. Whenever I've asked a question about it, they seem to firmly and graciously decline my request.
Maybe you need to do it with more confidence.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's what we're learning here. JD, before we get to what the people say about asking service recommendations, any thoughts on this? You think it's good or not good?
I never do it. I worked in very shitty restaurants for 10 years. People ask me all the time, and I'm like, look around. Just order a burger. It's a frozen burger. What do you why are you asking me, man? It's like, what does chef recommend at the Hard Rock Cafe? It's a cheeseburger with American cheese, man. You're going to love it. So I never do it. I also never trust the servers to tell. It's either whatever the chef is trying to unload, or as a patron, I think it's not good. It's a waste of time. Just order what you want. I appreciate sometimes unsolicited advice. Drop the menus and they say, "Oh, try the cornbread. It's our specialty," and walk away. That I don't mind. But I don't need. I know, Matt. Sometimes you like to be guided through the experience, and I'm just like, just give me a Guinness and a beer and a burger, and I'll be fine.
I do like to do it. It can be awkward when you ask the server, "Hey, what would you recommend?" Then they recommend you 3 things, and then you're like, "Yeah, I don't want."
That's right.
You order not one of them. Yeah.
And you order not one of them. So, Max, 72% of people say asking servers for recommendations is.
They probably say it's good.
They do say it's good. Next topic. Okay, I'm excited about this one. Declining all substitutions. Is this good? So the menu is as is. No modifications will be considered. Is this good?
So coming from a cooking perspective, I'm going to say yes, it is good. From a hospitality perspective, not so much. But I know what goes into dishes and prep work. And if someone rolls in and they go, "Can I not have this on it?" Maybe it already exists in the sauce. Maybe it already exists in this or that in order for them to get the food out to you in a timely manner, it has to be that way. So, and also the composition of a dish. Let's say someone goes, "I can't have anything acidic," but the dish needs acid to balance it out. Then it's an incomplete dish.
Yeah, order another dish.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. If I'm going to the Cheesecake Factory or a fast casual place, then sure, substitute all you want because it's a chain. It's not the chef's creation that he's excited to show to you. In a quote unquote real restaurant, I agree, no substitutions. But sometimes I do. It seems. Like let's say someone comes in and they're one of those people for whom cilantro tastes like soap. I'm not one of those people, but it seems like they walk among us. So if a dish comes with cilantro, that is something that's a garnish they're putting on the top, usually, unless it's in a sauce, as you were saying, or a salsa, something like that. So from a hospitality perspective, what do you think about when the chef says, "No, we're not changing it"?
If it's a garnish, I guess you could remove it, but also maybe to the chef, the cilantro is an integral part of the dish, so order something else.
Yeah.
Right. So you are from the school of you wouldn't tell Picasso how to paint.
Definitely not. No.
So how do you think of the balance between the restaurant as a center of hospitality versus the restaurant as the center of chef-driven inspiration? Do you think should there be a balance or?
Yes. The customer is not always right.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. There needs to be a balance though. But I really do believe that if you're taking things away from a dish, you might end up not liking it because it's missing a very key factor to it. So I like the no substitutions. Some of my favorite restaurants do that. And they stick by it, and people seem to still enjoy the places.
I'm with you on this one. What's your favorite way that written in tiny letters at the bottom of the menu that they say, are you a no substitutions guy? Are you a substitutions politely declined? Are you all substitutions will be politely but firmly declined? What's your favorite way to go?
All substitutions are politely declined. You got to be respectful.
Yeah.
Something I saw on a menu recently that made me laugh. Substitutions entertained within reason.
Okay. Oh, well, so that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, that does seem like a nicer way to say it. So
hey, let me throw a quick scenario at you. This is a real life thing that happened 2 weekends ago. This is at a pub. It's our local pub. We go all the time. It's me and my wife sitting at the bar. She orders fish tacos, right? On the menu, it's breaded fish on the taco. And also on the menu is another dish that we always get. It's the same breading, but it's breaded cauliflower. We are very refined, Max, just FYI.
I'm picking it up.
So she wanted to substitute the fish with the cauliflower, the same cauliflower that we know is on the menu. And then they had just recently changed their menu, and they had the cauliflower literally a month ago. So we know there's breaded cauliflower in the house, and she wanted cauliflower instead of fish, and the bartender said, "We're not doing substitutions tonight because they're too busy." We're like, okay. And I'm like, here we go, because Rachel's not going to let it go. And she's going to dig in, and it doesn't make any sense because we know there's cauliflower there. There's a woman sitting next to us eating breaded cauliflower. Anyways, who's wrong?
If you
Who's
see
wrong
someone
here?
doing it, I mean, if you see the breaded cauliflower next to you, it's an easy swap out. Instead of putting the fish, you put the cauliflower. I think that's easy. I think they should accommodate that.
I agree, but I didn't want to cause a scene. They ended up doing it, but there was a kind of a scene.
Okay, your wife has the confidence that I need.
Yeah.
All right,
And she kept leaning more and more forward across the bar. Really? No, really? That kind of thing. So I was like holding her back. Come on, baby. We come here a lot. I don't want to not come here anymore.
Hey, you're a regular. They should accommodate. They should accommodate. So 70% of people say forbidding substitutions is.
Probably they say not good.
They do say not good.
Wow.
Yeah.
These heathens, Max. These heathens. Next question comes from Carrie Q, who asks, gesturing at a waiter. She gives some examples: wave, snap, check please sign. Is this good? And first, let me start by asking, have you ever seen the snap? Because I've seen the snap. It's certainly, you see it less and less, but certainly I would, amongst an older generation, you still see the snap.
100%. The snap is not good.
No, the snap is not good.
Snap is not good. But subtle. You make eye contact first, please. Then you do a little gesture, a little check, a wave. But eye contact must be made first.
Eye contact
and it can't be big gesture, little gesture.
Okay, so just a head nod, could that work?
So a head nod could be you saying what's up.
Yeah.
Okay. What about a head nod
eye contact
in a lateral head nod? So it's like, like that.
No.
What does that mean?
I think just some eye contact and like a.
Okay, so eye contact. So that doesn't bother you. So let's talk shit about customers for a second, though.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Okay, what's the worst behavior that you typically see in a restaurant, or things that bother you about customers?
That's a hard one. Like things that I see, just people being rude to wait staff, dismissing them as if they're not even actually human beings. I see that and it disgusts me. It's a very difficult job. They don't want to see you either, trust me. But to just be so dismissive and rude, and starting, if there's a problem with the food, let them know, but don't be mad at them. They didn't cook it, right? They're the messenger. They're whatever. It's most, for me, the behavior is mostly people being rude to wait staff.
So speaking of that, though, when you do review a restaurant, though, and you've had very pleasant service, let's say, but the food wasn't good, so how do you try to parse that out?
Oh yeah, always.
Okay, so people that, as a general rule for people listening, if something's wrong with your meal, it's what 99% of the time has nothing to do with the server, right? It's not like they forgot to pick it up at the pass and it got cold.
Yeah, well, that does happen, but yeah, it usually is not to do with your server, and it's mostly kitchen issues.
Okay, so back to complaints about customers. I'd say number one, making a reservation and not canceling it if you're not going.
Okay. Well, that's outside of the restaurant. Okay.
Okay, outside the restaurant. But I honestly blame that for some of the more extreme behavior that restaurants are taking, because they're kind of like, well, like we're at our wits' end by how shitty some of these customers are. We've left this table open for them, and now we're losing the revenue on it. And I think that a lot of this, like waiting for everyone to show up and things like that, is I don't know if I can draw a direct line to it, but it feels part and parcel of them trying to wrest back control from these customers that aren't showing up.
And they also, a lot of restaurants now charge you if you don't show up.
Yeah.
They take your credit card on the reservation. And so that's how they protect themselves. If you don't show up, you're getting charged.
Okay, back now to in the restaurant behavior. This is probably my number one thing that drives me nuts. When you're, let's say, a party of four, you've all agreed, okay, yeah, we're ready to order. The waiter comes over, and then one person in the party's like, yeah, so for my starter, and I'm getting like redder and redder, more and more embarrassed. So you got to know what you want. If you've agreed, just know what you want or make a game time decision within, what's the limit, 3 seconds?
I don't know. This is post game plan. You've all made a game plan, and then someone goes rogue.
Yeah.
Someone goes, well, see, now you're talking about a different thing. So I like to eat with a game plan where we're talking like, hey, we're sharing these things. I mean, ideally, we're sharing most things. But I guess I more mean like, okay, we're ready to order. And then the person starts the hemming.
Oh, that's annoying. Just a server standing there awkwardly waiting for you to figure out what you want while they have other things to do.
Nope, not good.
No.
Not good.
What do you think about waiters who squat at table level? Is that something you enjoy?
Every time it happens, I'm like, oh, okay, here we are. Very close to my face.
Every opportunity to work the glutes.
I know a lot of
right?
I know a lot of women servers who do that to avoid getting their ass grabbed.
Oh, that's interesting. Move it further from the table.
Yeah, so it's usually, and at one of the places I worked at, all the girls had to wear skirts, and so they would constantly have like hands going up the skirt, so they would
Wow.
actually. So every time I see that, male or female, I just assume, oh, that's a grabby table. Whether
it's really
they are
something.
or they aren't. Yeah.
They were quickly and promptly profiled. Another server thing that I always find hilarious is if you're sitting on a banquette and then the server will come sit down next to you to take the order.
Oh shit! No, that's really interesting.
That's just super friendly. So 58% of people say gesturing at a waiter is.
I'm gonna say not good.
Good. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. And actually, to be honest, I didn't want to just put gesturing because I didn't know how people would take that. So I think I put as the question, making the check please sign at a waiter, and
yeah,
people seem to agree. So Max, there's a bunch more topics I want to get to. So it's time for a speed round we call the chaotic good. Now, it's not so speedy. We can go at a medium pace. Michael S asks, QR code menus, are they good?
No, they're not good.
Why not?
I like a tactile thing. I like to hold a menu. Let's say someone is older and they need to take their phone light and shine it over the menu. Okay, give them a QR code so they can zoom in on their phone and it's illuminated. But as far as like when you go to a restaurant, you want to be presented a menu. It's a feeling. It's nostalgia. Your whole life you've been given a menu. I don't want to look at the menu on my phone. I do that before I go to the restaurant to maybe try and game plan. But when you're there, you want a tactile thing.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want people on their phones at the table. You want to put your goddamn phones away, people, and you're encouraging them to all look at their phones. It's aesthetically alone, it's garbage having four people look
aesthetically, it's bad.
Yeah.
And of course, as you were saying, someone older that wants the menu on their phone so they could see it brighter or pinch in, that person is probably not going to know how to use a QR code. So that's
fair point.
That is often
fair.
So these things started during the pandemic when people didn't want to be touching menus. And I feel like restaurants have carried this over because obviously it's cheaper for them in that they don't have to print the menus or replace them. I guess it's probably easier if they wanted to change something, they just change the digital version. But do you think they're here to stay now? Because it seems like places have carried them over.
I hope not. Don't want it. Okay,
not good. Next question, leaving the table as soon as your meal's done. So this is the pressure some people feel that, hey, the tables, we finished eating, we've paid the bill or we're about to pay the bill, and we feel like someone's probably waiting for the table. It's a busy restaurant. Do you feel like you need to leave right away?
If you've paid the bill and it's not at the end of the night where no one else is coming in, be mindful of that. Let's be a little mindful and not chill there for 30 minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then you take it outside, say your goodbyes.
Totally agree with you on that. I do feel though that in restaurants now, because they're so busy, you do feel you're being rushed out of the place. Like I'm saying within an hour 10 of when you sit down, they've brought everything so quickly. I'm talking about you've ordered appetizers, you've ordered mains, you've ordered drinks, that you're out of there in like 70 minutes. And that seems unpleasant to me.
It is unpleasant. I do not eat that slowly. I like to marinate and luxuriate. And if someone does that to me, it's probably a restaurant I don't go back to because I like to enjoy my dinner. It's my escape from life for a certain amount of time.
Okay, we want our food marinated and we want to marinate ourselves.
Exactly.
Variable
luxuriate, such a great word. I love that. I love that.
Variable pricing at restaurants. So this is something I've heard talked about. I heard David Chang talk about it. So this is basically like, how when you order an Uber, if no one is taking Ubers, the price is low. If there's a surge and everyone's trying to get one, the price is higher. So a classic supply and demand. Typically, obviously, restaurants have been the same price no matter what time of the night you go. People are talking about moving into variable pricing as a new sort of revenue stream. What do you think about it? Is it good?
It's not good. I'll pass on that.
Yeah. Hard pass on that, right?
Oh, big pass. Yeah, no chance.
First of all, how is it even going to work? Because the idea that a 6 p.m. reservation is less valuable than a 7 p.m. Reservation, or even a 5:30, that doesn't hold true anymore. A restaurant is booked, let's say in Los Angeles, if it's a good restaurant, it's booked from 5 p.m. onwards. So what are you going to make cheaper? And what do you?
I don't know. I'm unsubscribed. I'm unsubscribing to this.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your main issue with it? Just feels icky?
Variable pricing. You're gonna want to eat at a certain time. I'll have to pay more. No chance.
I agree. Airlines do it, but guess what? People hate airlines. And when Ubers do it, people hate it. Like cabs didn't do variable pricing. I guess cabs don't exist anymore, but that's not the reason why cabs don't exist anymore. Okay, tipping 20% for takeout, not delivery. So you're going to pick up the food at the restaurant.
That's a tough one. That's a high percentage for takeout. A service charge is for service. There is no service in takeout.
Okay, so then a more middle question here. What about a restaurant where you have to order at the counter? Do you tip 20% there?
That's the thing, because you do have food runners and bus people. See, I didn't say bus boy, I said bus people.
He's
learning.
He's very evolved.
I'm so woke, dude. But There is still a service element. So yeah, I mean, I guess sure, but it doesn't feel as justified. But the takeout 20%, I mean, there are a lot of restaurants that do takeout and delivery in LA where they just hit you with that service charge on your delivery or takeout order. And then you have to pay a tip to the driver that's delivering it to you. It's a lot of tipping.
Yeah. It's a lot of tip. I mean, I think the driver is the one person that absolutely deserves the tip. But
well, they're providing that service, but yeah.
They're providing the service. So then what about JD?
Oh, I'm just I would like some transparency to know where the 20% is going. I'm fine with it if like the dishwasher in the back is included, is cut in on all of this. But if it's just going to, sometimes there's a manager cut of tips, which is ridiculous to me. But that, I mean, it's hard. I do it every time I'm presented. That's why I try to pay with cash whenever I'm picking up stuff, because then I can just, I don't have to do the 20% or not 20% button, and I just, throw a couple of bucks in the jar or whatever. But yeah.
What about an auto grat, Max? How do you feel about that when the bill comes and it's already on there?
So I do like that. I think that it protects a restaurant to a degree, and it helps servers kind of know exactly what they're going to take away based on average check prices. Where it gets a little weird is where like some places give you a 16% auto grat, and then you're like, okay, well, so I'm going to add X amount to this, or if they give 18, you're like, all right, well, it's not quite 20, and then you end up really adding a little more. I do love a place that just adds the gratuity and they don't even have an additional tip line. You just sign and you leave.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it. I mean, I'm tipping that. I mean, probably actually tipping more than the autograt, because the autograt's usually 18%.
Right, exactly. So you add on to it.
Well, I don't know. Somehow when it's the auto, I like leaving the extra 2%. I don't know. Somehow I do that less than tipping an auto 20% when it's not included.
But that additional gratuity line doesn't stare you right in the eye and go, hey.
I mean, it gestures over, but I look away.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly. There was no eye contact.
I don't let it. Never make eye contact with the bill. Yeah. All right, Max. I'll let you step on a soapbox for a second. The Michelin Guide, is this good? And maybe overall, for our listeners, can you say briefly what the Michelin Guide is?
The Michelin Guide was created eons ago by the tire company, and it was to signify places that were worth traveling to. So 1 star is worth going to, 2 stars is worth a detour, and 3 stars is worth a trip in its entirety. And over the years, it's become very political, and there's a lot of networking involved in it. So it's not as meaningful as it once was. It does get asses in seats for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't I guess romanticize it as much as I once did, because of the amount of Michelin star restaurants I've been to that have been absolutely awful.
And so what's the disconnect here? You're saying, is it a pay for play thing? Is it just a friend of a friend thing?
It's pay for play, it's lobbying, it's politicking, it's ass kissing, it's all those things.
So the Michelin Guide is like the World Cup of the food world?
And speaking of world, there's also the world's 50 best restaurants, which is the same thing.
And so you find there's not really a correlation between amount of Michelin stars a place will get and quality of the food?
I mean, there are certain things you can expect. You can expect atmosphere at a 3 Michelin star. You can expect a level of service and a price point. But food, oh boy. A lot of 3 Michelin star restaurants, the food is just so boring. So you would suggest, because a lot of people do use the Michelin Guide as like a blueprint for where they're going to travel to. It's exactly as it was intended. I've heard you talk on your podcast about Massimo Bottura's famous restaurant in Italy, and how it is
by your estimation, awful. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, pound for pound, it's probably the worst restaurant I've ever been to in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, but pound for pound, you're talking 3 Michelin stars, best restaurant in the world, price point. I had to travel to Modena. There's no direct flight to Modena. So where do you go? You go to Rome, you take a flight to Bologna, then you go to Modena. There's a lot involved in it. And then you sit down and you have LED lights in your eyeball at 100%, full blast. It's 90 degrees in the restaurant because it's cold outside. What's up? What's going on in Europe? Why does it need to be 90 degrees inside? 70 is fine. It's 40 degrees outside. Let's make it 70 inside. Why 90? Anyway, the food was just disgusting. It was all a story. And the story didn't translate into deliciousness.
But then you're in Modena, you walk outside, the Parmigiano Reggiano's falling from the sky. You have a little bit of that famous balsamico.
Exactly. So you go and visit those places, but you go to Osteria Francescana and you're like, this is a hoax.
Wow.
Right. So it's the veil has been pulled off a bit on the Michelin Guide as you've gone to more of them and realized that they're not everything that the guide says they are.
Right. And some places really are. Some places you go to and it's the best meal of your life and you're emotional from it, or you'll remember it for the rest of your life. So sometimes they get it right, but a lot of the time it's smoke and mirrors. It's ass kissing. It's all that stuff.
Okay. Well, I believe the Michelin Guide is coming out soon, so do not make eye contact with it.
December 5th for California.
All right, Max, let's get to the final segment of the show. It's called Subjective Trivia. So subjective trivia is just like regular trivia, except only I know the answer. I'm going to ask you a question that has no real right answer, but we're going to pretend that it does. So here's a scenario. You're ordering pizza. You can only have 1 meat and 1 veg on the pizza.
Ooh.
So what is the best 2-topping pizza? Now I have my answer written on the back of this card. You could start off thinking about what would your preferred 2-topping pizza be. You can confer with JD to see if he can get in my head.
Yeah.
One meat, 1 veg. Where are you going here?
There's pizza. There's cheese on this pizza already. Yes.
There's sauce, a red sauce, and there's
red sauce and cheese. Am I going first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a slut for mortadella.
Okay.
So mortadella is my meat. And the veg, while it might be controversial, it's probably pickled chilies.
Wow.
Okay, so you're not ordering from Domino's, suffice to say.
You didn't say. You just said I'm ordering a pizza with 1 meat and 1 veg.
Yeah, that's what you did. You did that.
You didn't say you're ordering from Domino's. What are you getting? I'd probably go sausage and onion.
Yeah, Max, for a second I forgot who I was talking to. Why would I assume that you would be ordering from Domino's?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, JD, what do you think the answer is?
Well, even before we established that it's probably a Domino's. Pepperoni mushrooms. That's my guess. Just classic pepperoni and mushrooms.
Okay, yeah. So I'm talking about just a classic, a working man's pizza.
Sorry.
Max, you're going to be very disappointed in me, but JD, you're right. I'm going with pepperoni. And
Oh well.
Wow!
Look at that.
Yes.
A classic. You can't go wrong. The earthiness of the mushrooms. Get a little soft.
I feel very silly.
Don't feel
Don't.
You could always add a crushed chili at home, so I don't know. But I take your point. Max, before we let you go, for anyone that lives in LA that's listening or is coming to LA, do you have any restaurant recommendations for them? And maybe give us one overrated place that people tell tourists to come to that you would say, don't bother.
Yes, I have many recommendations. You can DM me, and I have a Google Doc I can send you.
Wow.
But I would say if you're coming to LA and you want to have that California lifestyle meal, go to Jelena in Venice. And there's plenty more. An overrated restaurant? I mean, there's so many. Don't go to Catch. Please don't go to Catch LA. Don't go to Don't go to any of those.
Okay. Never been.
Good.
Never go.
Never go.
Never. No.
All right, Max, where can people find you on the podcast and on Instagram to get that coveted Google Doc?
Well, so the podcast is Air Jordan, a food podcast, and the Instagram is at Max Shapiro.
All right, Max, thanks so much for joining us. To everyone, thanks for coming. I'm Matt Austin, and this was good. We'll see you next week.